In this next video, we're going to be looking at how to use the between keyword. Between is when you're trying to make a range. It could be a date range, a numeric range. It could even be a text range, alpha characters, based on their ASCII values, depending on what you're doing. But it's really a way to consolidate your code and make it a lot more readable and enjoyable. Let me just start off by doing a select star from the employees table. And as you can probably imagine, and you know what, let's just do this for ha-has. We'll order by the EM salary. Alright. You can see that people here make anywhere from $38,000, that's probably just some guy, almost $1 million, that's one of the sales guys, Kenny Sellum. It's like Bernie Madoff. You're born with a name where that's what you're going to do. I didn't say that. And let me just do this because I think I'm OCD. Okay, now what we're going to do the first time, we just want to pick everything that's between 98,000 and 110,000, but I want to show this a couple of different ways. The first way that I want to show this is this. Now notice, in this list, there are people at 98,000, and there is somebody at 110,000. These are probably all the developers who wants a job in development. Me! Okay. But you notice this is just saying where the salary is greater than 98 and it's less than 110. So we're only probably going to get one record from that. Potash. And he's due for a raise, by the way. He's a really good guy. The difference between this query and this query, let's just run them both. Notice how we had 3 rows here and only 1 row here. What's the difference? Well, here we picked up 108,000, but here we also picked up the 110 and the 98. Why? And I didn't order these, if that's confusing. Sorry. But the reason why is here, we're saying where the EM salary is greater than 98, but here we're saying where it's greater than equal to 98. That means either it can be greater or equal to, and don't switch the equals and the greater than, that won't be pleasant. And here we're saying where instead of it's less than, we're saying it's less than or equal to. So basically what it does is it takes everything between these two. Well, in this one it takes everything between these two numbers. Here it takes everything between these two numbers, including these two numbers. So that's pretty straightforward, right? Okay. Let's go to the second window though, and I want to show you how to make this a little cleaner. Here again, these two lines are just like what we just ran. And we're only getting 108 here, and now we're getting anything from 110 down to 98. If I run these two lines, it's going to give me the exact same thing because I'm telling SQL the same thing. What's happening here is I'm saying where EM salary is greater than or equal to 98 and EM salary is less than or equal to 110. Instead of writing all this, you can consolidate it and write this. You might say to yourself, well, what's the difference? Why do I care about that? Well, first of all, in a query like this, there could be so much more code in the where clause. It could be indented, it could be going off the page from where you could see. There could be a whole lot of subqueries, and the part where it's saying where the salary is greater or equal to this, and then finally less than or equal to that, there could be a whole bunch of other stuff in the way. So readability may suffer, and it may not be obvious what the person's intending. If you see this, where EM salary is greater than or equal to this, and then there's like a mile of code, you don't know that this is coming up. But however, when you see the between keyword, you know it's going to be a range with a minimum and a maximum. So first of all, it makes it shorter, and second of all, it makes your code easier to read. Let me just show you this kind of broken out a little bit better. These two lines are the same as these two lines. I just indented to make it a little easier to see. Select star from employees. These two lines are exactly the same as these two lines. However, this one, instead of saying where EM salary greater than or equal to 98 and EM salary less than or equal to 110, this one you just beautifully say where EM salary between 98 and 110. It consolidates it because, I could, when I'm up here, say, and something stupid like this, not equal to 0. still get the same thing. But I could write a whole bunch of stupidity here, because let's face that happens sometimes. And I'm just making like a really ridiculous. Who's gonna work for $2 a year? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Trick question. Do you see how that's off the page now? On this first query, because I can't even see what's there, and I mean, this query could be a lot bigger. I don't know that eventually, at the end of the day, it's going to say less than 110,000, because whoever programmed this first line, meaning me, was a dope and didn't make it, sort of, easier to read. Yeah, I knew what I'm doing. No, really, I do. Okay, so basically, you get the idea. When you have either one of these will work fine, but for readability, this takes a longer amount of time to code. We're not talking hours, but you have to write the word EM salary twice, and then instead of between, you have to write both different operators. And it depending on where these things exist in the where clause, it could really stretch out and elongate your code. This, even if there was stuff nested here, this right here, it's consolidated. I know if there's a between, there's a low and there's a high, and that's all there is to it. You always have to put the low one first and then the high one. If you say where it's between 10 and 5, it'll come back with nothing, even if everything's between 10 and 5, because it's like saying where it's greater than or equal to 10 and less than or equal to 5, which is impossible unless you live in the bizarro world or you're talking about negative numbers. So anyway, that's really the benefit of using between. It's a little shorter, but especially when there's a whole bunch of spaghetti code or something, it makes it a lot more obvious and apparent to whoever's reading your code, in case it's not the same person that wrote it, what it is that you're actually trying to do.